Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is good. You guys know what time it is. It's that time to get ready for Start Sit week number 10. I mean, crunch time is coming. We need those victories, especially all y'all teetering on the brink of fantasy playoff elimination. It is never over. Fight till the final end. I'm not even kidding, y'all. It's a big week, man, for everybody. But we do got some bye week troubles on week 10. Kansas City, LA Rams, Miami Dolphins, and the Philadelphia Eagles all on the bye this week, removing a lot of high-end talent off our rosters. We had to scrape and claw off the waiver wire, which was pick clean on who we can play this week. But once again, you guys know the drill. Rapid fire. Arizona Cardinals will start off there. And the big news, Kyler Murray is returning back to the field from that ACL tear. And I mean, at this point, when they saw Clayton Tune play, even if Kyler Murray's tendons were falling off, they would play him this week. And I'm giving him a mid-level risk right out the gates. I am not expecting a whole heck of a lot from Kyler Murray. I'm expecting a lot of rust. I'm expecting, him to at least try to get his legs back under him, feel comfortable on the field once again. It may be ugly early on. As the game does wear on, I want to see his progression, comfortability. Made a new word, obviously, but his new being comfortable on the field is kind of where we want to see it. Kyler Murray, I think you're risking it if you're going to play him this week. I really want to see him on the field before I can trust it, but this should uplift this Arizona Cardinals offense. James Conner, 21-day window has been open. He is officially a questionable for this contest. Going to give him the injury risk designation. Watch the injury report to see if he's going to be cleared to play this game. If he is, we may also see him on something of a snap count as well. So I don't know if I would trust James this week either. But I mean, the influx of players that we require moving forward for the last 4 weeks of the fantasy regular season, these guys could definitely help us in that regard. Keontae Ingram, he's a high-level risk if Connor does play, but if he doesn't, we could see some volume upside versus these Atlanta Falcons. Hollywood, Marquise Brown on the mid-level risk only because we don't know what Kyler's going to do. They may try a couple deep shots in his direction. It doesn't matter anyway. Hollywood gets an uptick this week because it's better than Clayton Tune was playing, but it is still a mid-level risk for me. If you got better options, I may look in that direction. Rondale gets low upside because they're going to be looking for safety blankets, short outs to get the ball out of Kyler's hand, which is why also Trey McBride is on the mid-level risk. I do like the play of McBride this week. We could see good levels of PPR upside where Michael Wilson on the injury risk. He was a late scratch last week. If you didn't see that and you played him, you obviously got crippled on the 0 points in that regard. The Atlanta Falcons taking on those Arizona Cardinals, and Taylor Heineke, oh my goodness, I can't even pronounce his name now. Mid-level risk for this man. I'm not playing him this week either. I think there are better streaming options. So the biggest issue we have is Bijan Robinson. What the hell is going on with Bijan and the coach Arthur Smith? Basically no goal line touches this entire season to speak of. He has, busted 4 out of the last 7 games. It is not good for Bijan at this point, but I'm saying this matchup is too damn good. You got to unleash this man eventually to the top end. Big-time booms of like 20-plus points. You got to believe it's coming in this week. Bijan might have to take it upon himself to, gallop 50-yard touchdown runs. Like, that's kind of what we're banking on at this point. Actually sucks big time. Tyler Algier still gets goal line upside as he's getting preaching from his head coach to say he's still the goal line back, and this sucks for Bijan owners, but I'm still playing Bijan, obviously. Temper the expectations for the lower floor, or the lower ceiling, but hopefully the ceiling will be blown off the roof in this one for Bijan. Drake London coming back from the injury, low-level risk against these Cardinals. I think Drake will have a very nice day for us coming off the injury and should be very good plug-and-play for me as well. Hodge, PPR upside because we do got no Mac Hollins. He's been good. He's a speedster. He gets open. He's somewhat of a technician when he comes in the middle of the field for yak yardage ability. Deeper leagues only, I'm only looking in that direction. But Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith, both on the mid-level risk. What did I tell y'all last week about Jonnu? I said, you can trust and play him. He repaid us in a big way of almost 20 points, half PPR. Kyle Pitts should start getting his sprinkles as well. I do like this offense moving forward. Coach says they use Bijan to, scheme up other players in this offense to remove coverage. But you got to think it is Bijan Day. I'm putting the flag down. It's Bijan Day. Say it with me. He's going to do 20 points this week. Come on, Bijan. Help us out. Baltimore Ravens taking on these Cleveland Brownies. This is going to be defense versus defense in what is truly AFC North football. Lamar Jackson on the low level. I'm going to bank it here on the caveat, say low level to mid-level risk, because we could see a lot of defense in this contest. Running the football, controlling the clock. Lamar Jackson still should be extremely viable in the rushing upside, even though, he was benched last week because the score was out of hand. Didn't have to play in the fourth quarter. Only got you, 10 points? Not good enough, Lamar. We need more from you, so this could be another situation where mid-level is definitely warranted. Gus the Bus Edwards, mid-level risk to a low-level risk only because the defense is good. He should still find his way into the end zone if they are anywhere inside the 5-yard line. Gus has been automatic these past several weeks. Keaton Mitchell, big-time waiver wire pickup this week. Injury risk, he found himself back on the hammy. That's what he's been dealing with all season long. Had a nice game this past week, but now back on the hammy. Definitely watch the injury report for him before you plug and play him, because he may sit this week as well. Zay Flowers, mid-level risk. It hurts because we expect it to be more consistent, but it has not been, and it could be again in this one, facing a very stout Cleveland Browns defense. Zay could get locked up quite a bit. I'm actually hoping for more PPR upside for him this week, where we could see some short passes with hopes that he's going to get free in the open field. We could see easily 5 for 60 yards in this one, which is a decent floor in half PPR upside, man. Rashad Bateman still on the high-level risk, not touching that. OBJ comes back up now the board of low upside. Even though it was in garbage time, he basically got his touchdown. But getting that monkey off the back was the biggest issue for an Odell. Get that confidence level up. He got his touchdown last week, giving him the low upside. Maybe they will start to give him some more target share. And Mark Andrews always on the low-level risk. You can absolutely trust that. Buffalo Bills taking on these Denver Broncos on Monday Night Football. Okay, the Bills are struggling 5-4. It's not the best time to be a Bills fan right now, but you can see this offense still giving you a ton of boom games in terms of fantasy football point productivity. Josh Allen, no-brainer at this point. Yes, we want to see him pick up his game to another level. Bring that lion back, that fierce lion that's ready to take over games. I don't know what is going on with Josh. Come on, man, figure it out. We need you, but at least fantasy football-wise, Josh is still killing it for us. James Cook on the mid-level risk. I do not like the usage the past several weeks. It is bothering me. Start to utilize James a little bit more. Get back to some, goods in the run game. Then we can start trusting him. If you have no better options than James Cook, I understand the play, but if you have better options, I may look in another direction, even though Denver does give up a lot of yards to the running back spot. It's just about volume upside in this situation. I do not like the usage at this point. Lat Murray, high-level risk. Stephon Diggs, low-level risk, but he is dealing with a back injury, so definitely watch for that. We could see some targets curtailed to the other side. This is a game the Bills should win, which means they could give him an in-game day off where he's not seen targeted as much in this contest, meaning guys like Gabe Davis will have an increased role. Low-level risk for Gabe Davis as well for me. I do believe they're going to try to utilize Gabe and Shakir that much more over a Diggs potentially. It depends on how bad that back is. If the back is bad enough and they want Diggs as kind of the decoy threat, we could see that, but Diggs is going to eat anyway. You got to play Diggs. Gabe, I think, is safer. Deeper leagues, Khalil Shakir is okay for PPR upside. Give you 7 points-ish. And Dalton Kincaid, PPR upside as well. He's finally found this role in this offense that we thought, and I do believe a TD is coming this man's way again. Back to the end zone for Dalton Kincaid. Absolutely, you can trust that on Monday Night Football. Cincinnati Bengals taking on these Houston Texans. And the Bengals beat up on the Buffalo Bills this past week, but it came at a cost. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both dealing with injuries. Higgins already been ruled out, where Chase is a questionable with the back injury. They may force a situation here with Chase as well. I'm giving him the green injury risk because if he does play, we know it's Jamar Chase. You got to suit him up. You have no other choice, but there is potential if that back does get any worse. He does have an early exit from this contest, but Joey B, regardless of Chase and Higgins on the field, still think he's going to eat versus Houston Texans defense. That is, up and down at times. Low-level risk for Joe Burrow. Low-level risk for Joe Mixon because they will absolutely ride the hot hand of Joey Mixon, especially if Chase does not play and they're relegated without Chase and Higgins. You're going to see a ton of a Joe Mixon in this contest, so absolutely fire him up everywhere you got him. Tyler Boyd on the low-level risk. He will see a lot of influx of targets to come his way with the injuries to Chase and Higgins. Like I'm saying, everything in this offense is predicated upon Chase playing in this contest. If Chase does not play, absolutely Tyler Boyd is a massive filler that will take at least 8 targets to come his way. Trenton Irwin, mid-level risk if all these guys are sitting. If they don't, Irwin could still have a decent role as that third wide receiver, and we could also see sprinkles of an Andrei Iosivas, the wide receiver from Princeton, rookie. He is a good talent, and they will utilize this man. So if it is no Chase, you're likely seeing Boyd, Irwin, and Iosivas in this offense this week, which will be very interesting nevertheless. But absolutely, in deeper leagues, Irwin could be one of these plays, especially if Chase does sit this week. Cleveland Browns taking on those Baltimore Ravens. Lots of defense, like I'm saying, from the Baltimore evaluation. Deshaun Watson on the mid-level risk. I think you could play him enough. His floor should be at 13 to 16 points against this defense in Baltimore, which will be susceptible through the air, but they have played extremely well, and this is a great test for them once again this week. Watson should be able to at least give you decent fantasy point productivity, where Jerome Ford or Kareem Hunt, both I'm giving a mid-level risk. They will try to control the clock in this contest and run the football quite a bit. It will be a very good test for both teams. I'm actually really looking forward to this contest, to be honest with you. AFC North football is usually a grind, but this one should be very good between two very high-caliber defenses. Amari Cooper, I'm giving him low-level risk. I think that Deshaun Watson's going to try to look for him on the regular, and the way that Amari's been playing these past several weeks since rejoining Deshaun Watson, it should be, again, one of these situations where they can pass the ball in any spot in his direction, and he will make the plays. Elijah Moore, low upside, can't trust it. Cedric Tillman is on the high-level risk because we got Marquise Goodwin and a David Bell, both injured. They're not going to be playing in this contest. We'll see if the rookie Cedric Tillman can make a role for himself, hence why they traded a DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, off this team, but high-level risk, can't trust it in fantasy. And David Njoku, mid-level risk as well for me. We could see his role tapered back a little bit as they run the football. End zone trips are the only thing saving his day in this one, in my opinion. Outside of that, I think we could see 4 for 35, 4 for 50 is kind of the stat line I'm looking for. A David Njoku. Dallas Cowboys taking on those New York Giants. We thought week 1 was ugly. This one could be absolutely gross and disgusting. The Cowboys are favored by 17 points, y'all. Dak Prescott, stud start of the week, man. The Giants are in absolute disarray. Daniel Pennies is now gone with the ACL. There's nobody here but DeVito and Saquon, and I feel so bad for Saquon at this point. But this offense in Dallas, Dak Prescott, stud start. He should absolutely carve up this defense in New York. Bounce back game for Tony Pollard in a very big way. I understand he's been frustrating all of y'all, but the Dallas Cowboys have been trying to find their passing game, hence why they've been pulling back on the running upside with Tony Pollard. Get him back in your lineups this week. He should have a very sound football day. Rico Dwaddle, Rico Suave, high-level risk, not touching that. CeeDee Lamb, stud start with a Dak Prescott. These guys should absolutely carve up these New York Giants. Expect heavy point productivity from those gentlemen. Brandon Cooks, you're disappointing me, bro. I've been preaching you, and you failed me last week. He's down now, back to the low upside, only deep shot, boomer bust appeal. If you are stuck at the wide receiver spot, it is a good matchup for the wide receivers, but I do not trust a Brandon Cooks this week. Even if he does hit, I'm definitely okay with that. Michael Gallup continues on the high-level risk, and Jake Ferguson, low-level risk. You can fire a Ferguson everywhere you got him because now Dak loves his tight ends. We know this. We thought he'd miss Dalton Schultz. He's found a new toy in Jake Ferguson. No kidding about that. The Denver Broncos taking on the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football, like I'm saying. Russell Wilson has been a very good quality streaming quarterback for us in fantasy football this week again. He should be able to at least provide you a decent threshold of about 16 to 18 points, even if the Bills put this one out of reach early. If they do, Russ is going to be able to throw the football around in garbage time to give you that point totals. Mid-level to a low-level risk for me for Russell. You can absolutely stream him this week with decent levels of comfort. Javonte Williams, low-level risk. The Bills do have an issue stopping the run at times, and I think that this is a good opportunity for Javonte to showcase that he is fully back, even though I've already established that already a couple weeks back. I believe Vontae is healthy, and he will absolutely be a good start for y'all this week. Jaleel McLaughlin, low-level upside to PPR upside for you this week. Not really trusting it. They've kind of curtailed his touches back quite a bit, where Vontae's starting to pick up steam. Jerry Jeudy on the low-level risk over a Courtland Sutton this week. I think it's his Jeudy week, man. Finally, we get to see how he's going to be able to operate. He's a good talent, and I think, it's about matchup. And I think in this contest, Jeudy matches up against the Bills very well. Should be able to give you a good threshold potential touchdown here as well. Courtland Sutton on the mid-level risk. Targets got to go somewhere and be removed elsewhere. I think Jeudy over Sutton this week is definitely the play for me. Marvin Mims, high-level, and Troutman, high-level risk. You are not playing those guys this week. The Detroit Lions coming off the bye week, taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Jared Goff, man, these guys just have boom games all over the place. Stud start for a Jared Goff coming off the bye week versus the LA Chargers. This offensive line will be in tough to guard a Mack and Bosa. But I mean, this O-line is one of the top 5s in the NFL, and Jared Goff should be able to be relatively clean versus two of the elite pass rushers in this league. Stud start for me. I believe he's able to carve up this Chargers defense quite not easily, but he's going to be able to move the ball quite a bit in this contest. Great news for the Lions. They get David Montgomery back from injury. Mid-level risk for me, as well as a Jahmyr Gibbs mid-level risk. You can play both these running backs, in my opinion. I do not know how they're going to utilize usage, because we know Coach Campbell does love the bruiser pounder backs, even though Gibbs did show 23 and 28 points respectively back-to-back weeks. I think that David Montgomery's still going to get a lot of touches in this contest to get his feet back up under him, but we could see both these guys absolutely have a day from this backfield. Amon-Ra St. Brown, low-level risk like every week. This man just booms on the regular. Jameson Williams, high-level risk. I'm still hopeful, okay? I'm going to put it out there right now. I'm still hopeful that this young man can showcase what he can do. He's far too talented, but on this week, high-level risk, you're not touching that. Josh Reynolds, low upside play. Deeper leagues, 14 team, I think is okay at this point. 12. You're totally banking on TD upside, where Sam Laporta, low-level risk, fire him up everywhere you got him, because I foresee a massive boom day for that man as well. Could be a very high score in that contest. Green Bay Packers taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. No love for love, as you know, they finally got another victory this past week, but I mean, when you're hearing the front office suggest that Jordan Love may not be the future of this franchise, that's a big concern. But yes, this offense has not looked great these past several weeks. Finally got a win, and they may start to, piggyback off of that and build some steam. Mid-level risk against a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that is extremely good at blitzing the quarterback. So, I mean, Jordan Love should see a lot of unique looks, and it could be very difficult for him in this respect. Aaron Jones on the low-level risk. He's back, baby, and we don't have to worry about it as at this point. Right now, they are limiting Jones' touches in the weekly practices. That way he doesn't strain it anywhere further. So I do like the play this week. Looked good last week, over 15 points. I do like it a lot. You can absolutely play an Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon, high-level risk because Jones is back. Romeo Doubs on the mid-level risk. He's got the best chemistry with a Jordan Love at this point. So out of all these wide receivers right now between Reed, Watson, and Doubs, I'm definitely more comfortable suggesting Doubs this week, where Jaden Reed does have some PPR upside, and I'm just going to give Christian Watson a high-level risk at this point until we see further, because he is just continuously injured, not catching passes, and giving us nothing in fantasy football points, man. Luke Musgrave finally got off the schneid. It was basically tight end boom week last week. A bunch of tight ends went off. Musgrave found his way into the end zone, so hopefully we get the sprinkles of that as well coming back. TD upside now is the target for a Luke Musgrave. We would like to see it 2 weeks in a row before we can start preaching it on the mid-level risk, and I think that'll be all right. But I think at this point, seeing him finally get into the end zone was an absolute positive in my respects. Houston Texans taking on these Cincinnati Bengals. My guy, C.J. Stroud, baby, what I tell y'all. Going all the way back to the offseason, the scouting report, go check that one out. I told y'all he was my QB1 coming out of this draft. Wasn't even close to a Bryce Young in that respect. I was back in Stroud. This man is a very smart, intelligent young man in that Wonderlic test. Throw it in the garbage, because it absolutely means nothing. This man has ice in his veins. Saw it in Ohio State. How many times, even when CJ started slow, he had ice in his veins in that second half. He just seemed always unrattled, able to come back in those contests. Low-level risk against the Bengals. He should, again, produce sound football numbers this week. Even without a Nico Collins, Dameon Pierce, they've still got a lot of weapons they can contend with. Low upside for a Devin Singletary. If you're stuck at the running back spot, I understand the play, but definitely temper the expectations for this run game overall, because they are recreating it in the short pass with guys like Dalton Schultz and a Tank Dell. Speaking of Tank Dell, high upside for this man now with no Nico Collins. He was an absolute dynamo. Told y'all last week as well. I'm doing victory laps everywhere, man. Told y'all last week that it was Tank Dell week, and he repaid us with a 26th spot. You got to love it. He basically won a lot of us our games last week. Absolutely high upside this week once again without Nico Collins, and then the addition of Noah Brown. I think mid-level risk as well. These two guys ate last week, and they could do it again. should be very good. Temper the high-end expectations because Cincinnati Bengals are going to watch the same tape that we saw last week, so they will have a plan to defend these guys. But I think that, Tank Dell is a very safe play this week, and Noah Brown has got some definite flex appeal for me. Robert Woods, Bobby Trees, coming off the injury. He's going to have some PBR upside. There are going to be some short dumps passes to this man as well, where Dalton Schultz is a low-level risk for boom games at this point. Almost 75 points, half PBR. You can absolutely trust Dalton Schultz this week once again. Also, Indianapolis Colts taking on these New England Patriots up in Germany once again. These games are killing me, man. You got to get up early to watch these contests. It's not good, but hopefully this is the last one for a long time. Gardner Minshew, mid-level risk for me. He's doing just enough to move this offense. Is he a great fantasy reliable player at the quarterback spot? Not really. And Bill Belichick will have a plan against him, which does scare me just a little bit. I do believe that the Colts will, again, go back to the ground game where we got Josh Downs and Alec Pierce on the injury report. Knee injury for Downs. He left that contest early, so that one's a big question mark for me. If Downs does not suit up in this contest, I'm giving Downs the mid-level injury risk right now because he couldn't finish last week. What makes us think that he's going to be able to be that much healthier this week? Definitely watch out for that one as well. That's why I do believe they're going to run the ball a lot in this contest. Low-level risk for a Jonathan Taylor to TD upside to a mid-level, low-level risk for a Zach Moss. They could use an absolute split backfield in this one to move the football a lot. I foresee a lot of running upside from these Indianapolis Colts this week. Michael Pittman, low-level risk. Without any of these other wide receivers, he should see a peppering of targets. Even if Downs plays, he should be a decoy of sorts. Michael Pittman is the play at low level. Absolutely fire him up. Where Kylan Granson would see his rate increase from high level to mid level if Downs and Pierce do sit in this contest, because we could see guys like Isaiah McKenzie be the next ones up, and that's no good for fantasy point productivity. But this one should be a lot of running upside, so Jonathan Taylor, for me, should have a very big day. I do like it a lot. Jacksonville Jaguars taking on those San Francisco 49ers. Trevor Lawrence and these Jags coming off the bye. This is a big contest versus the 49ers. Will we see what the Jags are? Are the Jags for real, or are they kind of pretending but yet winning? Is that what they're doing? We'll see mid-level risk for Trevor Lawrence against a very stout defense, even though the 49ers have not looked great the past several weeks. Coming off the bye, they got the rest. They should figure this one out. Trevor Lawrence is still startable in this contest, obviously, but on the mid-level, he hasn't been great versus other defenses overall in this season so far. It's been frustrating for a lot of managers, so maybe around the 15 to 17 points again for a Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne, low-level risk. He's been an absolute dynamo. Plug-and-play every single week. Calvin Ridley, mid-level risk. This could be the week because the 49ers do give up a lot of yards to wide receivers, so this could be the week we see a force feeding of a Calvin Ridley. I would not be shocked in that respect at all. Flex play for me on Ridley this week is very much warranted, where Christian Kirk, low-level risk for me. Low-end wide receiver 2 numbers every single week. 75% on the boom games, baby. Christian Kirk is doing the business for us, and I think at 90 points, he's absolutely got the best chemistry with the Trevor Lawrence, and they should be able to do it once again. Agnew, you're not touching. Evan Ingram, mid-level risk. We can play in Evan Ingram this week also, but definitely, excuse me, got a frog in my throat, could be on the lower end of the point productivity this week for Evan Ingram. So I'm thinking, again, anywhere from 6.5 to 9 points should be your threshold for Evan Ingram. Los Angeles Chargers taking on these Detroit Lions. And, I mean, this offense was absolutely stymied last week by the New York Jets defense. And, I mean, we know it's the Jets defense. They are one of the elite talented defenses in the NFL. Low-level risk bounce back for a Justin Herbert this week versus the Detroit Lions. While the Lions do have a good defense, this should be a shootout, man. I fully expect 40 points from each team in this contest. Low-level risk for Herbert. Low-level risk for Austin Eckler. He was the only bright side in that Jets contest outside of the kick return. I mean, Austin Eckler's back in a big way. He should definitely have another huge contest. Joshua Kelly on the high-level risk with Eckler back. Keenan Allen, low-level risk because this wide receiver room is being decimated once again with injuries, and Quentin Johnston is not that guy at this point. It's going to take some time. I told y'all, like, going all the way back to the offseason, man, I'm not missing on a lot of these guys because it's all on the film. When you study their evaluations, you pull out my scouting reports, you will understand what I was saying about these guys. QJ has a lot of talent. Not saying he doesn't. I think he could eventually become a very good wide receiver in this league. At this point right now, he's got a lot of things to iron out. I mean, Sauce was owning him on the jam on Monday Night Football. Like, he just can't do a lot of things well at this point, and it's going to take some grooming time. He is a body catcher as well, so low upside for me. If I am Kellen Moore and the Chargers, I find absolutely creative ways to get this man the football so he can utilize his legs and the yak ability. That's when we will see him take off, gain confidence, and then hopefully his game will move up from upside from there. I should say it that way. But I mean, QJ is a good talent, low upside, not playing him in fantasy. Gerald Everett should be able to pick up steam this week. Mid-level risk. I do like the play. I think that they will target him quite a bit now that Josh Palmer is on the IR with a knee injury, and Donald Parham too difficult to trust for me. High level risk. He, outside of touchdown upside, he's not going to be a big fixture in this offense. The Las Vegas Raiders taking on these New York Jets on Sunday Night Football. And the Jets, I mean, the defense, this is going to carry them. As bad as Zach Wilson is playing, I mean, you can't go away from what this defense does well. Aiden O'Connell likely getting the start again this week over at Jimmy G. High-level risk versus this defense. It might get ugly. So ugly, it's oogly. Because, I mean, a rookie quarterback going up against this Jets defense, they are going to make him pay for everything. That's why I'm saying mid-level risk for Josh Jacobs, even though Austin Eckler and the run game usually is the, detriment to this defense on the New York Jets. I think they're going to stack the box all day long and force an Aiden O'Connell to beat them through the air with a guy like Davante Adams. I got low upside on Davante for the first time in his career, man. I don't think I've ever been this low on Davante. It's been like 5 weeks of supreme bust games. Davante is an absolute liability for our fantasy teams right now. We cannot trust it. You have no other options. I understand, because Davante is the elite talent that can score touchdowns on his own. So I understand if you're forced to play him. I'm in a league where I got Davante and I have to play him this week, so it does suck at times. We got to go with the ebbs and flows, but if you do have the option, it is very much low upside this week for me. I do not trust Aiden O'Connell versus Jets defense whatsoever, so I'm playing it safe, and Davante is going to be sitting on my bench if I have other options. Jacoby Myers, on the other hand, could have the PPR upside role like we saw last week. More comfortable, easier routes, easier reads for Aiden O'Connell to hit. We could see Myers absolutely give you decent PPR points, but I mean, temper the expectations on that. Hunter Renfrow and a Michael Mayer, both on the high-level risk. Don't like the play this week versus the New York Jets. Defense will be coming with the bum rush on Aiden O'Connell, and you know what it's going to do, man. Minnesota Vikings taking on the New Orleans Saints. And we saw the resurrection of these Vikings offense with Josh Dobbs. Can you believe it? This guy, he gets traded, no practice time, barely understands the playbook. He's practicing his snap cadence with his offensive lineman on the sideline so that he could get the cadences right. Unbelievable stuff from a Josh Dobbs. And a mid-level risk for me versus Saints defense. So, I mean, everybody's got film on Dobbs already this season, but we saw how it did taper off in Zona. I do like this offense tailored for him just a little bit more. I think that the coach is going to be able to call good plays for this man. He's able to utilize his legs like he did last week to get the victory for these Vikings. Mid-level risk. If you're streaming quarterbacks, yes, you can play a Josh Dobbs this week. I think there is very good upside, even though Saints defense is very good. Alexander Mattison on the mid-level risk with a Cam Akers going down with the Achilles. We got a lot of injuries here. KJ Osborne is dealing with a concussion, questionable. TJ Hawkinson, questionable. JJ is back on the 21-day window, officially questionable as well. But Alexander Mattison, you can play this week. I do believe it's a decent enough matchup where volume should dictate. He should be able to be utilized in the pass game as well. Could be another boom game for Mattison, but it will be very close. I like the play of Matty this week. Ty Chandler, low upside. He will see the sprinkles now that Cam Akers is gone once again with an Achilles injury. Prayers up to Cam. That sucks. But I'm telling y'all, man, JJ at this point, very much a green injury risk. If he does see the field, you absolutely fire him up and play him. But, I mean, they could nurse him back as well. So we'll see if he does play this week. I won't be shocked if they sit him just one more week, but this could bode extremely well for Jordan Addison owners at this point, because if JJ does play, absolutely they're going to have to put the coverage on JJ, and that leaves Addison with lesser coverage to his direction. If Justin Jefferson doesn't play, Addison's going to get all the target share. It's win-win this week with a Josh Dobbs. KJ Osborne on the injury risk. We could see Powell instead. Concussion protocol for Osborne. He has not cleared yet, still on the questionable, where TJ Hawkinson with the ribs. He dealt with it and fought through it last week. I foresee nothing else with that as well. Low-level risk. You fire him up everywhere you got him as well. New England Patriots taking on these Indianapolis Colts in Germany, like I'm saying. Mac Money Jones. Okay, and at least this offense was moving in a better, clip this past week. Ramondre finally got a touchdown again. Huge rush for the touchdown, but they only utilized him in 9 carries from the backfield. What is your problem? Oh, man, the offensive coordinator, O'Brien, he is killing me. Give this man PPR work. Please, can we ask for it? I'm basically begging for it. Utilize Ramondre a little bit more, man. Give him 12 touches from the backfield and give him a nice 6 targets. Then we're happy and we can actually go home happy. Mid-level risk for Ramondre. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Mac Jones, we're not playing. Zeke Elliott, low upside, you're not touching. Juju, high-level risk, dropping passes over the middle when your team requires it. You're not touching that either. Pop Douglas, everybody's in love because of the speed. I told y'all last week, be careful, man. He only gave you 8 points. You got to wait and see how they're going to utilize this man. And I don't think Mac Jones can absolutely support this man at this point. So he's dealing with an ankle injury as well, so it's just one of these difficult situations that if you're playing him in the flex, I get it. Hopefully you have better options. Speed will always kill in the NFL, so you're just looking for the opportunity. Don't hate the play, just temper the expectations to another 8 points-ish. He has to find his way into the end zone to give you those 15. There is no question about that. Tyquan Thornton, high-level risk for me and Hunter Henry. Back to TD upside. Told you last week again, Hunter was going to find the end zone. Booyah! I was right once again on that one. I hit a lot last week. I'm telling you, it was a good week for me. New Orleans Saints taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Derek Carr in this offense now with Taysom Hill, the football player. I mean, Taysom Hill, we'll start there, man. He's taking all the touchdowns because the supreme touchdown vulture. And if you have Taysom on your team, you love life. If you don't, you hate him with a passion. You know this. He's the absolute TD vulture. Alvin Kamara saw his worst performance since coming back from his suspension. Still low-level risk for Alvin Kamara. He should get back to good graces this week, where a Derek Carr sees the mid-level risk with the front of Minnesota playing very well, the front 7 on the defense. So Derek Carr could see a lot of mix and match with Taysom Hill this week. Like we saw last week, lots of goal line upside, some passing upside, receiving upside. Taysom Hill is that weapon that, is very difficult to understand where he's going to be on the field. So Derek Carr on the mid-level. If you're streaming him, I don't hate the play as well. Jamal Williams, high-level risk. Don't like it because Taysom's vulturing everybody's touchdowns, and that's what Jamal does, and he's not going to be able to do that with Taysom on this team. Low-level risk for Chris Olave. Continued down the path of CO2. Found his way into the end zone, but it was, again, they got into the end zone, then they went away from him again. It's driving me crazy. Give Olave at least those 8 targets this week, and then Michael Thomas saw no targets or no catches last week. Just an abomination. Chris Olave, low-level risk. You can fire him up now with Michael Thomas, where he did have that safe floor, going down to a 0 goose egg points. You killed us, man. Now you're on low upside for me. I don't care. You're in my doghouse. You're in the rough house for me, man. Michael Thomas, low upside. I mean, I get it. If you got him, you got to play him because you drafted him at a point where PPR upside was the key. He's just a problem right now in this past game, and he's really got me feeling angry right now. Rashid Shaheed, boomer bust. Like I said, man, he's going to be one of these guys. This could be the week we see Shaheed actually get one of those deep shots to come his way. So I don't hate the play. Risk the biscuit and go for Rashid Shaheed this week because he could find his way into the end zone on one of those deep shots. And like I said, Taysom Hill, low-level risk. You can trust him at this point. He's been booming off the chain for us for many weeks past already. New York Giants taking on those Dallas Cowboys, and what a crap show this is in New York. Giants fans, I legit feel sorry for y'all, man. This is probably one of the worst seasons I have seen in terms of injury for any team. Now you're going with Tommy DeVito, high-level risk. He's going to get killed in this contest. I feel for you. Get the bath salts ready, get the ice baths ready, and this guy's going to have his body parts falling apart because they're going to come after him huge in this contest. Don't like it whatsoever. Saquon Barkley, mid-level risk. Okay, I got grave concern for Saquon in this one because, like I said, Dallas is favored by 17 points. And I understand, this is the NFL. No game is just going to be a complete runaway. These guys got heart, and they play teams with some heart. New York Giants do. But we got to temper these expectations massively. The last time these two teams played, Saquon had 7.8 points, half PPR. We could see a very similar stat line in this contest, which does fear me, where the ceiling is definitely capped very much lower. Only thing we got to hope is garbage time productivity, that he saves his day in garbage time. But we know if this game is a complete blowout, they're going to bench Saquon because they don't want to injure the man. They understand he's already come back from multiple injuries. They're not going to play him into the depths of the fourth quarter if this game is out of hand. So definitely be wary of that. we have to play him. There's no question. We have to play him. It's not like we got CMC, Eckler, and Barkley on our teams in 12-man leagues, so you got to play Saquon and hope for the best. But definitely I am concerned this week. Matt Breida, high-level risk. Hodgins, high-level risk. Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale. Darius gets a low upside where Wan'Dale at least found the end zone this past week, and that could be where we're getting garbage time productivity from this team is in the later stages through the pass game in these wide receivers. So Wan'Dale to me is the safest option based on target share. No Darren Waller, no Daniel Jones, Daniel Pennies, and Daniel Bellinger is your tight end. A lot of red on this board. High-level risk for Bellinger as well. Giants fans, I feel for you. It's been rough. New York Jets taking on the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday Night Football. Zach Wilson, the Kuka Killer. I mean, it's not good, man. What are you doing, bro? You got checkdowns. You got easy outs. You got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall being like, dude, if you cannot get up to play at this level, you need to just go because they're getting pissed off. Garrett Wilson fumbled the football this past week, and that never happens. I watched every single Ohio State game with a Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud. I watched them all when they were on that squad. I don't remember Garrett Wilson fumbling the ball ever. Ever. It never happened. This was a new revelation, and you understand Garrett Wilson, he's trying his best to make this team move, put the team on his back so he can make it move forward. They're getting frustrated, and I completely feel their pain. Breece Hall, low-level risk. Garrett Wilson, low-level risk. I think you could play them versus these Las Vegas Raiders. Zach Wilson just has to do better. Even if he gives us 25% better, man, continuously run the football with Breece Hall. Give him the checkdowns. Feed Garrett Wilson on the slants. Feed him on the easy routes. Let Garrett work in the open field, and we should be able to at least see decent points to come their way. Vegas defense is not necessarily great outside of a Max Crosby who will be coming after Zach Wilson. It is scary to say, and I mean, the Jets' offensive line is not good, so we should see a lot of sacks coming in this one as well. Tyler Conklin, low upside. Again, safety check down valve is there, but I don't like the play also. So Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, only thing I'm trusting. Breece over Garrett, if you're asking, that's definitely where I'm going, but you got to hope against the secondary versus the Las Vegas Raiders, Garrett should be able to at least find some play in that one. Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Green Bay Packers. Small hands Pickett. Mid-level risk for me. I mean, they're winning games. What can you say? They don't look awful. They finally got Deontay Johnson back, which has uplifted the balance in this offense a little bit more. Najee's starting to pick up steam a little bit. Mid-level risk for Kenny Pickett. Not playing it in fantasy. Najee, I actually am this week versus the Packers defense that is dealing with quite a bit of injury. We also see Jari Alexander once again is on the injury report, so I do believe you can fire up George Pickens and Deontay with low-level risk. I do like it a lot. Najee on the mid-level. We always got to temper the expectations, but hopefully Najee's at least going to give us the touchdown upside that we're looking for. It's been happening 2 of the last 3 weeks, so I'm definitely thumbs up for that, where Jaylen Warren has got at least 50-50 touch share in this content or in this backfield as well. I think you could play Jaylen Warren also. There's enough to go around with how this offense is definitely moving, kind of, helping Kenny Pickett along the way. And it's funny, you got to hope for the best for Kenny Pickett at this point. Improve your game, young man, and things will start to look better. Allen Robinson, Darnell Washington, both high-level risks. We're still waiting for Pat Freiermuth to come back to give another weapon for small hands Pickett. San Francisco 49ers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brock Purdy and these 49ers coming off the bye week. It is good news. They needed the rest. I mean, 3 games dropped in a row, 5-3 when you started 5-0. Not good news, man. It's been exposed. But the best news of the day is that Trent Williams should be back in this one. He was practicing on a limited capability, and he is, you got to say, he's the most valuable player on this entire team at this point, because the minute he went down, Brock Purdy started dealing with concussions. Players were going down with injury. Get Trent to block that blind side, and Brock's going to feast again. Low-level risk for me on the predication that Williams is going to suit up on the left tackle spot. CMC, low-level risk. Obviously, you fire him up everywhere you got him. His anytime touchdown bet is automatic. It's free money these days. Eli Mitchell, high-level risk. Debo's coming back from the injury. I think we could trust him, man. It's been long enough of a layoff that he comes back. He's going to want to showcase what he can do, and there should be some good game plan to get him a lot of touches, even if it is in the run game also. Debo absolutely suit him up. Brandon Ayuk on the low-level risk. With Debo back, there's going to be ample opportunity for Ayuk once again, where that drops a Juwan Jennings to high-level risk, and then George Kittle on the low-level risk. The Jags defense is good, but I think that these weapons are going to be able to foil them in Jacksonville. It should be a very good show. I'm looking forward to that contest a lot of good pieces we can play from the 49ers this week. Seattle Seahawks taking on the Washington Commanders. The Commies, Geno coming back home. I bet it's good to be home, bro, because you just took a shellacking from those Baltimore Ravens. Did not look good. That was one of the easier bets on the spread that I took this past week. Geno should have a bounce back. Mid-level risk only because I want to see him bounce back before I preach it, but I do like the play of Geno this week versus Washington. The defense is susceptible to giving up plays to the pass game, so I do like it where they do play the run a little bit better. And I'm Kenny Walker III, dealing with some injuries. He is off the injury report, was dealing with a chest, calf, ankle, knee. I mean, this guy is hurt and beat up. I mean, everybody is at this point, but you want to see him back on the field where they are starting to, give Charbonnet more touches to save the body frame of Kenny. I think Kenny has a good day this week, coming off 2 bust games. Mid-level risk for me, but I still like Kenny's start over Charbonnet. Obviously, keep Sharp on the bench at this point. Low upside for him. He's just taking sprinkles of touches. He's not finding the end zone. He's not breaking off big runs. So Charbonnet, until further notice, is on your bench as the lowly handcuff. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm giving low levels to both Metcalf and Lockett. We're good upside to Njigba. And I mean, we can't hate how this offense is moving forward, where we wanted DK to be the alpha number 1 wide receiver on this offense to give us the top end points. It's very even, 71.4, 79.2, and 53.7. Metcalf, Lockett, and Njigba in that order. So, I mean, he's spreading the ball enough to be, very balanced in this offense with these wide receivers, but I think that's at the detriment of these Seahawks in some of these games. Focus on one from time to time. DK is dying for a massive boom game, and I think it does come this week. If I am picking, I'm taking DK over Lockett and Njigba this week, but I do feel safe enough to suggest Lockett and Metcalf can be played, and then in your flex, Jackson Smith-Njigba is a decent option from anywhere from 6.5 to 9 points. Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Tennessee Titans, and the Bake Show was in a battle with CJ Stroud. Unfortunately, they came out on the bottom end of that, even though Baker drove the field to give him the lead. Baker's able to move this offense in a very big way. Low-level risk, streaming quarterback. Abso-freaking-lutely, you can fire a Baker this week versus Tennessee. Also, Rachaad White has been giving us repayment after I criticized him like 4 weeks ago. I said, get this man on your bench and don't bring him back. He heard me, I guess, because he's been killing it ever since. Finally, Tampa Bay understands how to utilize this man. For some reason, the burst when he gets the handoff is just not there. But when you get the ball in his hand in the pass game, it's like pow, pow. He's off to the races with that burst. Continuous force feeding in the pass game, I foresee for a Rachaad White. Low-level risk, almost at 100 points. 4 boom games since I called this man out. I don't know. He had to have heard me, man. Chase Edmonds, high-level risk. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I like Mike Evans once again on the low upside. He's been far too good and consistent. Even though on some games it's been lower, it's been good enough for where we drafted him. He's likely your wide receiver 2-3 at this point on your team anyway, so it's gifted points for where the value did reside. Chris Godwin, bounce back game for me in this one, I do believe. Did not like his role in that pass game, but I mean, Baker was definitely taking what Houston's defense was giving him. I foresee a lot more coming to Godwin this week. You can play him this week as well. Trey Palmer dealing with an injury. High-level risk for Cade Otton. Scored a touchdown, had a big game last week. I'm going to put him back on the high level. I think it's going to go back to Evans, Godwin, and then it's going to go White from Baker Mayfield over in Otton. But Otton is starting to pick up a lot of steam. I think that you can start to look in his direction. If you're looking at tight ends and you're struggling, then you can fire up a Cade Otton. Tennessee Titans taking on those Tampa Bay Bucks. Will Levis, low-level risk. We saw what Stroud did. What's to say that Levis can't do the same? And it's because this pass secondary in Tampa Bay is not necessarily high-end anymore. The front seven is still very good. Will get after the quarterback, but I think that Will Levis with this arm, if they dial up a couple deep shots, they're going to keep them definitely honest. Low-level risk, but I'm going to say make the cap at least 17 points. That likely could be the ceiling for Will Levis this week, but I do like the matchup. If it's going to be anything above the 17, then fantastic, but 17 points should be the threshold we're looking for this week for a Will Levis. Derrick Henry, King Henry, low-level risk. He should run fierce this week. I like the play. Obviously, you're not benching him anyway, but I do like Derrick Henry to run wild, even though it is Tampa Bay's stout run defense. I do foresee him scoring a touchdown. Tyjae Spears on the low upside. We'll see his touches, but not near enough to play on the low upside in the red. DeAndre Hopkins, low-level risk, should be able to at least break free in numerous amounts of times. where we do got Treylon Burks on the injury. We got the resurrection of Kyle Phillips when he came off the IR. PPR upside, a.k.a. Wes Welker, type of deal. This is what we're looking for Kyle Phillips. I do like the play in deeper leagues at this point. He will see more PPR work his way. Westbrook-Ikhine, he's got the high-level risk, but he does have TD upside if you are willing to risk it, and you got the big kahunas to play it. I do not, but I'm telling y'all, there might be potential TD upside here. We're in Okonkwo. He's got low upside now again. It's wonderful what a quarterback with an arm can do that can spread the ball around. Now everybody becomes somewhat fantasy viable, and you do like that quite a bit. Okonkwo is not a great play, but I mean, he's back on my radar. Don't play him this week, but he's back on my radar. Last one I got is the Washington Commanders. The Commies taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Howell. He's been good. What can you say? 7 boom games for Howell. This offense under Eric Bieniemy is moving in the right direction. Yeah, okay, they're 4-5 as a team, but they're doing the business, man. Look at all these boom games in this team. They're providing a lot of fantasy points to us. Low-level risk for Sam Howell. Absolutely fire him up. Brian Robinson, very good upside this week as well. Volume upside is key. Potential TD upside for him as well. I foresee a good bounce-back game for him. Antonio Gibson, PPR upside only if a Curtis Samuel does sit once again. That's a caveat. If Samuel does play, then Antonio Gibson goes back down to the low upside play. We can't touch it again. Terry McLaurin on the low-level risk. Fire him up. I foresee a nice game from him this week, especially if Samuel does sit once again. And Jahan Dotson on the mid-level risk. We finally got him back. He's found his football legs once again. Welcome back, Jahan. He's boomed last several weeks, looking very good. Had nothing to do with the talent of Jahan. They just weren't targeting him enough, as he was the decoy in this offense, pulling coverage from others in this Eric Bieniemy scheme. And Logan Thomas, you can play him on the mid-level risk, but I think it's going to be Terry and Jahan Day this week, along with Brian Robinson. For these Washington Commanders, it should be very good. But there you have it. That is week number 10. Start sit lineup advice. It is getting close to fantasy football playoffs. It's tight, man. We got to get these victories, and if you need any help and assistance, drop your start-sit questions in the comments, because I will definitely help you out. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. I am out.